Hi everyone and welcome to Retro Ratchet. My name's Chris and today's thrilling video is going to be about my daily driver, which is a 2017 Volvo XC90 T8 R-design Pro. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, so if you want to learn something about the Volvo T8 and what it's all about, I promise this will be a slightly less boring video than other ones. Please like and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Right guys, let's get into this review then. Exterior, what do we think of this? It's a proper beast of a car. I think if you're going to buy an SUV, it has to be a full-size one. Not one of these micro ones that you see running about these days. But it has to be a proper one. X5, Range Rover, XC90 of course. But yeah, I think it really looks the part. It looks pretty mean. When I was looking for this one, I specifically wanted a car with the R-design Pro Pack on it. Again, they just look the part. They've got the bigger wheels. They've got the body kit on them. So this one's also fitted with the privacy glass, which I think sets it off really nicely. It's a nice added touch there. Another impressive features on these is the headlights. Check those out. In this R-design Pro kit, you get a lovely front bumper on it there. Those little splitters at the bottom. You get the kit along the sides of the doors as well. And then there's a little spoiler here along the boot. So it does make it look really sporty in my opinion. So T8, so it's a petrol plug-in hybrid, and from the outside there's only two ways you'll know that this is actually a hybrid. One is the badge, and the second is this, where you plug it in to charge. So it's a 2-litre petrol engine which is supercharged and turbocharged, and in standard form they put out 390 horsepower. This one has the Polestar upgrade, so that adds about 14 horsepower and I think 59 pound-foot of torque to that, but we'll get into that in more detail on the next video. It's got an 8-speed automatic transmission and a 9.2 kilowatt-hour battery. Other than this, it just looks like a normal XC90 with the R-design Pro Pack on it. Now in terms of appearance, there is only one thing that I don't actually like about it, and that's the door handles. I think they look pretty cheap. They don't have a nice feel to them when you open the door either. So on this one, we do have the twin exhausts, and they are actual exhausts and not just trims. I think these are valves as well, but we're going to do another video on more looking at the performance of this one. I mean, these wheels, they're absolutely massive. They're 22 inch, so 275, 35, 22s on the rear. And there is still space around the arches. This one has self-leveling suspension, so you can actually adjust the height depending on which drive mode you're in. So put in the comments, guys, how do you think this looks compared to the likes of a Q7, an X5 or a Range Rover? So if you're going to the lengths of buying a luxury SUV, you want it to be luxurious inside. You want it to have a nice interior, nice leather, nice trim. So let's take a look at this one, see what you think. So being our design spec, it is biased more on the sporty side, so you won't find any wood in here. You've got this carbon trim on the doors. The seats are very, very comfy. The contrast and stitching, I think, really lifts it out. You've got the R design there in the middle of the seat. They're super comfy. There's tons of adjustment on them. This part also adjusts out as well, so it can give you support under your knees. And then you've got the various different lumbar adjustments here as well. You've got this nice R design plinth here along the sill trim. So the level and quality of trim in this car, I think, is fantastic. If you look at the detail on these door cards, the stitching on that leather, carbon fibre trim, and you've got the perforated leather there, contrast just standard leather up above. So it really is a nice place to be. Right, so let's take it for a wee drive then. Now there are a few drive modes on this one. This is the same of any modern car now, depending on what you're going to be using it for. So this is currently in hybrid mode. So the car will usually pull away there. As long as you have sufficient battery, it will pull away on electric. So it's super smooth. And that's one of the things I really like about hybrids. You do have the best of both worlds, in my opinion. So for round town driving, I much prefer battery power. But then for the longer distances, I much prefer the reassurance of petrol. That's just my opinion, whether it's right or wrong. But I really think round town, these type of roads, stop, start, you cannot beat an electric car for just relaxation, smoothness. They're just so much more progressive and easy to live with rather than hunting for gears and things like that. Different when you're out on an open road and you're maybe looking to enjoy yourself and get a bit of a thrill out of driving, but that's one of the reasons that I chose a hybrid. Well, and the fact this was the most powerful model. Maybe that was the reason. We also have a pure mode, that's an eco drive mode. So all that one really does is it raises the threshold in which the petrol engine will kick in. We maybe get up to about 60 mile an hour on it, but to be fair, you wouldn't really want to cruise in battery mode anyway. It's probably a bit of a waste of time doing it that way. It also lowers the suspension in pure mode as well, I think, to just make it a little bit more aerodynamic. So I'll generally run in this if I'm going about town like I am just now. But I mean, you hear how smooth it is, how quiet it is. It's perfect for this type of driving. Yeah, so battery mode, super quiet, super smooth, really relaxing. Not particularly powerful though. I think you probably get a similar acceleration to maybe that 1.1 Punto I was in that I reviewed. Actually, that'd probably be a little bit faster than this is in battery mode. But it's enough to keep it, moving along. Now there we have Polestar mode. So Polestar is optimised for maximum performance. The gear change points are changed. I think the exhaust valving is changed as well. It holds on to his gears a wee bit longer. It's very, very responsive, so I reckon the throttle map's probably changed as well. Suspension lowers and the steering feels a little bit heavier. This Polestar mode completely transforms the car. I'm not going to do anything on that just now because I'm going to do a separate video talking about that. Because the Polestar was an optional upgrade on these, they didn't all come with that. Now, my one biggest negative about the car, in my opinion, is engine note. I hate the engine note. It just does not fit the car. It doesn't really belie the performance either of the car. You expect a big rumbly V8 or V6, and that's the one thing I don't think they have got right, is this 4-cylinder. I've never got on with the engine note on it. I'll try and demo it in a minute. It just sounds a little bit lame. It's hard to describe. It is only a 2-litre 4-cylinder, to be fair. So it does suffer from traction issues if you try and launch it. Right, we'll give it a run down this slip road so you can get a feel for how quick it actually is. Mid-range is where this is really impressive, which obviously can't fully demonstrate. Now, in terms of suspension and handling, I think it's really, really good. So let's firstly start talking about comfort levels, which is probably more important in one of these rather than outright how quick it'll go around a track or things like that. So my measure is how smooth is it over the millions of speed humps we now have these days. And this thing, it just soaks them up. As long as you don't go over them at a daft speed and buckle your wheels. It does, it just absorbs, that really harsh first impact you get when you go over a speed hump round town. So it's amazing for that. What I also find handling wise, see if you put it in Polestar mode and you do press on a country road, the grip is really good. You do lose traction on the front wheels just with the amount of torque. Obviously it's not like proper, like say for example a 4-wheel drive V8 that's not a hybrid. You do get much more power delivered to the front wheels. I think the back motor only delivers something like 80 or 90 or 100 brake horsepower. So you are scrabbling for traction quite a lot, or the traction light is coming on, holding you back a little bit, which is a little bit frustrating sometimes. But while pressing on, I think it is very stable. There's only one occasion that it's caught me out on a wet road, going round a roundabout in the wet, and there was a little bit of wayward travel on the back end. The stability control obviously collected it all in time and took over, but had there not been stability on there would have been that little bit of back end play on it, which is interesting, certainly for something this size. So to summarise for the suspension side of things, I think it's perfectly adequate if you did want to press on and use a bit of that 400 odd horsepower under your right foot. I've found the air suspension keeps the roll into corners under a reasonable level, and it's actually quite entertaining when you drive it fast. You just should have put a V8 in it. A V8 with a battery would have been even better because you'd have had more power plus the battery. Brakes. Now, brakes I think are mega impressive on this. There's obviously not a lot of feel on them. They are well assisted, you know, so a light press on that pedal will result in quite a lot of braking power, which is no bad thing. When I've had it up country roads and I've been pressing on just to try and see what it's like when you're driving faster, I've done quite a few hard braking passes in one go, and the brakes haven't faded. Now you're talking, you know, a 2.5 ton car, standing on the brakes, driving enthusiastically is super impressive. There just wasn't the fade that you would normally expect on something like this with standard brakes. So I would give it high marks, in my opinion anyway, for its braking function. I certainly have full confidence in the way it brakes. Now, in terms of seating comfort and ergonomics, it's as good as it gets, really. Everything has been designed logically. It's within reach. You've got your paddles here if you want to change manually. Obviously got your indicator and wiper stalks. There's various other little functions on there. Everything, well, not quite everything, but most things are controlled by this screen. It's a kind of minimalist look. You've got some things, items that you would, you've got things that you would select more frequently down here. Volume for the radio, so that's definitely a more frequent use. And you've got your heated windscreens and your hazard and your glove box release there. But you can literally sit with your hand on that and then just adjust the volume as you please. And you've got your electric window switches and things over here in the door, and your memory function and your lock. So it's very comfy. The seats are very well supported. They are a little bit on the hard side for me. I'd have preferred something a little bit softer, but I think that is just a sign of the times. There's very few cars that are like 80 styles where you sink into the seats. It's probably crash regulations and things as well. The headrests in these are fixed. That's something I'm not particularly keen on. I sometimes prefer to have my head a little bit further back. I understand why they do them like that, but if I had a choice, I would have them adjustable so they could move back a little bit. But considering how short I am, I have managed to find a good compromise in terms of seating position, so I can actually see over the steering wheel. Right, another reason people love these is practicality, and this has got loads of it. These slide forward like that, and then you can adjust the angle of the backrest as well like that, so depending on what configuration you want to run. This one's also fitted with some blinds for the window in the summer, so that's handy as well if you've got young children in the back. And then in the centre we have this armrest and cup holder, which is pretty handy. Legroom and headroom is, as you would imagine, more than ample in something this size. Even when you move these seats forward, there's still tons of space, so it really is a huge car. Rear seat passengers are also treated to decent ventilation, so you've got a wee controller down here. You can control the temperature, individual for each side, and you can control the fan as well for here. There's actually also a third row for that as well. You've got these vents here and then some in the floor as well. So it's a pretty comfortable place to be. And if it gets into the summer, you've got these blinds for the window to keep the sun out. Right, another useful feature this car has is the boot release. So if it's locked and you've got the key in your pocket, you can actually open it like this, just swinging your foot under. How handy is that? So if your hands are full, you're carrying something, you don't need to worry about getting the boot open. Got a switch there then just to close it again. Another useful feature, you've got a couple of buttons here which allows you to adjust the height of the suspension, so you can drop it right the way down when you're putting heavy loads in the back, so that's pretty handy. So for those of you with a big family, an XC90 is actually really practical. There's a third row of seats in the back, dead easy to get into. You just pull this lever forward and then you can climb in through this gap here. And there's two full-size seats, as you can see, and again they've got their own heating control and stuff there. Boot space is another positive on an XC90. It's absolutely huge. So this is what you can see with the third row of seats up. Then what we'll do is we'll put all the seats down and show you how big it actually is. Right, so that's it with the third row of seats down. So as you can see, it's absolutely massive. A young child can easily lie down. And that's it with all the seats down. So it's basically just like a minivan. And that concludes the first video on the Volvo XC90. So I hope you all found that informative and ideally interesting. There's 4 more videos coming up in the car. 6-month impressions, is a PHEV worth the bother, Polestar, and how far on pure electric. So stay tuned if you want to see those. Thanks again. Catch you all next time.